Nightline begins now with me, Liyana Hassanel. The top stories. 2-year-old girl first fatality in Terengganu floods. And Batang Kali landslide, no new findings on third day, SAR to resume Monday morning. A 2-year-old girl became the first casualty of the worsening floods in Terengganu in an incident in Kampung Apal, Jerteh on Sunday. State Police Chief Datuk Rohaimi Mat Isa said the victim, identified as Nur Hilwa Idris Muhammad Haris Zaifan, was found floating in a ditch about 20 meters from her house, where she was believed to have fallen at about 3:40 p.m. During the incident, the victim's aunt was getting ready to evacuate to a relief center as floodwaters were rising before she discovered that the girl had left by herself through the kitchen door. The victim was believed to have been swept away by the floodwaters in the incident. The body of the victim was sent to the Besut Hospital for further action. Datuk Rohaimi also reminded the public to be more alert and cautious during the northeast monsoon period, and parents and guardians should ensure their children's safety during the flood season. Meanwhile, the flood situation has worsened on Sunday night due to continuous rain, as Sarawak and Pahang became the latest state to be hit. Over in Kelantan, Terengganu, Perak and Johor, more victims were evacuated to relief centres. As of 10 p.m., the number of evacuees in all the 6 states were 11,276, an increase of 5,968 people compared to Sunday afternoon. According to the Info Bencana JKM portal, the number of evacuees in Kelantan rose to 5,980 people from 3,320 at 4 p.m. The State Disaster Management Committee's Secretariat said that the evacuees are being housed in 60 relief centres in 9 districts. In Terengganu, the number of victims increased to 5,123, with 102 relief centres opened in 7 districts, namely Kuala Terengganu, Setiu, Dungun, Kemaman, Hulu Terengganu, Besut and Marang. As for Johor, the District Disaster Management Committee said the number of victims remained at 75 evacuees, and all the victims are being housed at Kampung Batu Badak Community Hall, Kampung Kuala Paya Community Hall and Kampung Tasit Community Hall relief centres in Segamat. In Perak, the number of flood evacuees slightly increased to 49 victims in 2 relief centres, compared to 47 earlier, with Hilir Perak having the highest number of evacuees at 28 people. As for Pahang, a total number of victims rose to 40 people and are being housed at Dewan Serbaguna Kampung Pia Relief Centre. In Sarawak, the number of evacuees increased to 9 people and are being housed in 1 relief centre in Serian. Meanwhile, the Pahang Fire and Rescue Department said no casualties were reported in the landslide incident at the rear of business premises at Jalan Tun Razak in Raub on Sunday. Its Deputy Director for Operations, Ismail Abdul Ghani, said the landslide occurred from a height of 15 meters and over 30 meters wide. He said the department was informed of the incident at 2:45 p.m. and an inspection was carried out to ensure the area was safe. He also said that his team would monitor the situation from time to time to prevent unwanted incidents from happening. Meanwhile, in a post on social media, Raub Member of Parliament Chow Yu Hui said that the Raub District Council was carrying out the cleanup work. He also advised traders and their workers to stay out of the area. In the meantime, the government will buy and import more high-powered pumps to solve the problem of stagnant floodwaters throughout the country. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said that the immediate measures could ensure that flood victims who had to bear the loss and destruction of properties were not burdened with the situation.
Saya akan melakukan koordinasi bersama-sama dengan Ketua Pengarah GPS dan juga NADMA serta APM untuk melihat dengan segera di mana pam-pam berkuasa tinggi mesti ditempatkan segera. Saya akan meneliti pam-pam berkuasa tinggi ini yang terdapat di dalam on the shaft, ya, mana yang sedia ada, dan jika ianya perlu diimport segera.
He said this after visiting a flood relief center at Sekolah Kebangsaan Sungai Tiang Darat in Bagan Datuk on Sunday. Datuk Sri Zahid, who is also Bagan Datuk Member of Parliament, said the other immediate measure was to move the existing pumps to the flood-prone areas. Meanwhile, he said pumps would be installed at 9 locations in the district, as suggested by the District Disaster Committee to solve the flood problem. He added that a permanent flood mitigation project amounting to 80 million ringgit would be implemented and is expected to be completed within 3 years. As at 8 a.m., 44 people from 13 families in Perak are being accommodated at 2 flood relief centres, namely Sekolah Menengah Abdul Rahman Talib Batu Empat and Sekolah Kebangsaan Sungai Tiang Darat. There were no new findings on the third day of the search and rescue (SAR) operation at the location of the landslide that hit the Father's Organic Farm campsite along Jalan Batang, Kali, Genting Highlands. Selangor Fire and Rescue Department Director Datuk Nur Azam Khamis said that the SAR operation to locate and rescue the remaining 9 missing victims was suspended temporarily as of 6 p.m. on Sunday due to weather conditions. The operation will resume on Monday morning for the remaining 9 victims.
Kedua-dua pasukan ini telah ditempatkan di sektor A dan juga di sektor C untuk membantu mengesan lokasi mayat dan juga untuk mengukur ketebalan tanah runtuhan yang berlaku ke atas mangsa-mangsa.
Datuk Nur Azam said the operation, which resumed at 9 a.m. on Sunday, involved the careful use of excavators to remove the initial 3 to 4 feet of soil and debris and make it easier for rescuers to locate the victims. He added that the excavating process was monitored by a member of the rescue team, who would provide guidance and instruction, and that more excavators might be added to the 8 that were already on site if necessary. He also shared that the rescuers were using 2 ground-penetrating radar machines from the Department of Survey and Mapping Malaysia (JUPM) and the National Disaster Management Agency (NADMA) to assist with locating victims. In addition, 11 K9 units, 6 from the Fire and Rescue Department, 4 from the police, and 1 from the Malaysian Armed Forces had been mobilized to join the operation. However, he said the SAR teams had to stand down at around 8:15 p.m. due to rain. The SAR was halted from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. earlier, but operations resumed after the rain stopped. Earlier, Datuk Nur Azam said SAR was expected to continue until 4 a.m., depending on the weather, and is scheduled to resume at 8 a.m. on Monday. Meanwhile, 15 more bodies recovered from the landslide location at the Father's Organic Farm campsite have been identified as at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Of the 24 bodies recovered so far, 21 have been identified. The National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, said the identification process was conducted using 3 methods, namely DNA, fingerprinting test, and identification through facial features, unique bodily marks, or personal belongings. It added the post-mortem on all 24 bodies had been completed, including a 1-year-old boy. Meanwhile, the identification process for 3 more bodies is still being conducted. The 21 victims confirmed dead in the tragedy consisted of 10 women, 4 men, 4 boys, and 3 girls. 9 victims remain missing at the landslide site. Another 61 people survived the ordeal. Meanwhile, 2 of those injured were being treated at Selayang Hospital, and 1 other victim was admitted to Kuala Lumpur Hospital. 2 victims were discharged on Saturday after getting treatment at Selayang Hospital. It added that information on the latest developments concerning victims of the tragedy will be announced from time to time after being verified by the agencies responsible. In the landslide at 2:42 a.m. on Friday, a section of a slope measuring 300 meter long and 70 meter high came crashing down onto the campsite. For the first time in Malaysia, the SAR personnel are using 2 ground-penetrating radar (GPR) devices in disaster efforts. Selangor Fire and Rescue Department Director Datuk Nur Azam Khamis said the devices were deployed on Sunday in the search for 9 remaining victims from the father's organic farm landslide.
Kedua-dua pasukan ini telah ditempatkan di sektor A dan juga di sektor C untuk membantu mengesan lokasi mayat dan juga untuk mengukur ketebalan tanah runtuhan yang berlaku ke atas mangsa-mangsa.
He said the team received the GPR devices from the Department of Survey and Mapping and the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA. Datuk Nur Azam pointed out that the SAR operation team has taken utmost care in using heavy machinery at the landslide area to prevent damaging bodies still under the earth. He said the team would dig or remove the soil 3 or 4 feet deep to facilitate the detection of the victims' bodies. He added that the team then would conduct checks either through K9 Tracker Dog Unit or manually to see if there is any sign of human remains. He also said the process was also monitored by a member of the rescue team who would give guidance and instructions on how to excavate. A total of 8 excavators were deployed to Ground Zero, and the number will be increased if the need arises. Meanwhile, the police have recorded statements from 3 workers of the father's organic farm following the landslide which struck a campsite within the grounds of the farm on Friday. Hulu Selangor Police Chief Superintendent Sufian Abdullah said the farm operator, a male in his 50s, and 2 of his staff aged between 20 and 30 had their statements recorded at the Hulu Selangor District Police Headquarters on Saturday evening.
Setakat ini saya sahakan 1 lelaki Cina dan 2 pekerja untuk tujuan siasatan untuk kami. Warga tempatan? Yang lelaki Cina ni warga tempatan.
Sufian added that police are not ruling out the possibility that more individuals might be called in for questioning in relation to the farm operations. It had been previously reported that the operator was running the campsite without a license from the local council. Local Government Development Minister Nga Korming recently said the farm only had permission to operate as an organic farm, which was approved by the Hulu Selangor Municipal Council in 2019. Two slope failures occurred 20 to 30 minutes apart near the landslide area along B66 section 13.0 Jalan Batang Kali, Genting Highlands. According to the Public Works Department, PWD, this was the finding in an early-stage report by its forensics team from the PWD Slope Engineering Branch, who had conducted studies in the area of the landslide. The PWD in a statement said the estimated dimensions of the slope failure are 70 meters in height, 120 meters wide and 330 meters long, with an estimated volume of rubble of 450,000 cubic meters. The failure mode is a combination of retrogressive and debris flow. It explained that the first slope failure most likely occurred in the camping area. The failure resulted in the area at the toe of the slope to become weak, which caused the occurrence of a subsequent second, larger collapse. It said active underground water flow was detected in the location of the collapsed slope, especially in the campsite area. PWD added that visual inspections at the road and slope at the section had found that the drain nearby was clean, dry, and not clogged, which showed that there was no problem in the drainage system. However, there were lengthwise tension cracks on the left lane heading towards Batang Kali due to the landslide, while the roadside drain had also broken off. The department added that based on its findings, soil saturation and high pore water pressure due to the accumulation of underground water at the bottom of the slope had weakened the toe of the B66 road slope, which subsequently caused retrogressive failure to the road slope. During her visit to the site of the landslide, Tunku Hajah Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandariyah has advised all parties, especially the victims' families, to continue to be patient, as all search and rescue personnel are doing their utmost best to look for the remaining 9 missing victims. accompanied by her daughter, Tengku Putri Raja Tengku Putri Afzan Aminah Hafizatullah. The Raja Permaisuri Agong arrived at 4:13 p.m. and were welcomed by Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani and Chief Secretary to the Government Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali. Her Majesty was briefed on the search and rescue operations for about 30 minutes at the Police Operations Centre at the scene. Tunku Azizah then proceeded to inspect the site where the SAR efforts are being carried out, accompanied by Selangor Fire and Rescue Department Director Datuk Nur Azam Khamis. "19 killed after oil tanker catches fire." News from the foreign front when we return. We're back with news from the foreign front. North Korea fired 2 ballistic missiles into the waters of its east coast on Sunday, the latest in what has been a record year for test launches by the Kim Jong-un regime. According to South Korea, the 2 medium-range ballistic missiles, which flew around 500 kilometers, had been fired from the Tongchang-ri area in North Pyongyang province. The latest launches follow North Korea's claim on Friday that it had successfully tested a solid-fueled rocket motor, a development that could lead to Kim's regime being able to more quickly and reliably fire an intercontinental ballistic missile in the future. Seoul has condemned the firings as a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions, while Japan had lodged a protest with North Korea through diplomatic channels. It was reported that the launches marked the 35th day this year that Pyongyang has conducted a missile test. Tunisia's opposition coalition called for President Kais Saied to quit office, saying he had lost his legitimacy after Saturday's parliamentary election had a preliminary turnout figure of less than 9%. The National Salvation Front head, Najib Chebi, said the poll was a fiasco, calling for mass protests to demand snap presidential elections. He added that there should be a short transitional period under a judge, followed by presidential elections and a national dialogue. Saied, who was a political independent when elected president in 2019, wrote a new constitution this year, diluting parliament's powers to make it subordinate to the presidency with little sway over government. Under the new electoral law, which the president passed by decree, political parties would have had a far smaller role in the election, even if they had taken part. Saied has presented his changes as necessary to save Tunisia from years of political paralysis and economic stagnation. In Afghanistan's high-altitude Salang Pass, an oil tanker overturned and caught fire, killing 19 people and wounding 37 others. Officials on Sunday said the death toll was expected to rise, adding that many casualties consisted of women and children who suffered major burns. The accident, which occurred in the Parwan province, has also set several other vehicles on fire. The mountain pass has now been closed for traffic as rescue teams and helicopters have been deployed at the scene. The Salang Pass, one of the highest mountain highways in the world at around 3,650 meters, was built by Soviet-era specialists in the 50s and includes a 2.6-kilometer tunnel. Football, the 2022 World Cup. Croatia defeated Morocco 2-1 in the third-place playoff on Saturday, with Mislav Oršić curling home the winner. Croatia surged in front after 7 minutes from a well-rehearsed free kick, as Ivan Perisic nodded Lovro Mayer's clip into the box back towards a diving Joško Vardiol, who planted his header into the corner. Morocco, however, hit back 2 minutes later when Hakim Ziyech's free kick looped up off the head of Mayer, allowing Ashraf Dari to head past Dominik Livakovic. Oršic's terrific curling strike late in the first half ensured Croatia took home the bronze medal, the 11th World Cup in a row a European team has finished third. Still on football, the Australian A-League. Dwight York's MacArthur ran away with a 1-0 win against Perth Glory on Sunday, a result that moves MacArthur up to 4th position in the standings. The only goal of the game came 11 minutes after the hour mark when Bachana Arabuli headed home an inviting cross from the right side. With the win, MacArthur climbed to 4th in the table with 11 points, 5 points behind leaders Melbourne City, while Perth Glory stuck at the bottom with 6 points. Johari gets ready for a new adventure. This and more after this short break. welcome back. Members of Parliament from the Unity Government attended a pre-council session on Sunday ahead of the first sitting of the new parliamentary term. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof said the meeting was held at the Prime Minister's official residence in Putrajaya. He added the session involved a special message that was conveyed to the MPs by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. The special pre-council is related to the first Dewan Rakyat sitting under the Unity Government, which begins on Monday, December 19th. In just a few hours, all attention will be on the first day of the Dewan Rakyat sitting in Parliament House. This is the first meeting involving the 222 federal lawmakers, exactly a month after the outcome of the 15th general election was known. As revealed by the Dewan Rakyat order paper for Monday, the scheduled two-day sitting of the first session of the first term of the 15th Parliament will see a host of housekeeping matters taking place on the first day. Business of the lower house of Parliament will kick off at 10 a.m. with a proclamation to summon Parliament to meet. This will be followed by the election of the Tuan Yang Dipertua or Dewan Rakyat Speaker and see him or her take the oath. On December 2nd, Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun said he would vacate his seat as Dewan Rakyat Speaker before the Parliament session. According to media reports, former Sungai Petani MP Datuk Johari Abdul has been touted as the front-runner as the Pakatan Harapan candidate for the post of Dewan Rakyat Speaker. After the election of the Speaker and the oath of office is administered, it will be followed with the oath-taking by members of the Dewan Rakyat. The elevation of the Speaker and MPs in the lower house of Parliament would then be followed by the election of two deputy speakers. DAP's Lanang MP Alice Lau and BN's Cameron Highlands MP Ramli Muhammad Noor were reported to be among the MPs nominated for the Dewan Rakyat deputy speakers posts. PN's Datuk Mas Ermiati Samsudin is also slated to be on the list of candidates. Meanwhile, PN, which makes up the biggest bloc in the opposition bench of the Dewan Rakyat, has appointed Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia's Secretary-General, Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, as parliamentary opposition leader. The first day will see no question and answer session, nor will there be any debate. The approval of emoluments for civil servants would also be the first non-housekeeping business which will be addressed at the sitting. In the parliamentary sitting, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim would put his position as the country's 10th Prime Minister on the line with a vote of confidence. A convincing win of 2/3 in this historic confidence test would solidify his legitimacy as the Prime Minister, cementing his power as head of Malaysia's first unity government for at least the next 5 years. It is understood that all 222 members of Parliament will be able to vote independently and will not be obliged to toe their party lines. Based on the order paper, Datuk Sri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, is expected to move a resolution requesting some 55 billion ringgit in respect of the financial year 2023. The monies are needed as Budget 2023, tabled by the former government, was never passed. Meanwhile, Datuk Johari Abdul has vacated his Gurun State seat effective immediately. The former three-term Sungai Petani Member of Parliament said he has submitted a letter over the matter to the Kedah State Legislative Assembly Speaker, Datuk Johari Bulat, on December 13th. The Kedah State Assembly Speaker confirmed receiving the letter and said the matter had been informed to the Election Commission. Datuk Johari was recently touted as one of the leading contenders for the Dewan Rakyat Speaker's position under the Unity Government. And that wraps up Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at this visual of Club Kompang Qatar, who highlighted Malay culture to the world by playing kompang during the 2022 World Cup. The Malaysian expatriates were also delighted with the presence of Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, who also joined in, playing the traditional musical instrument. With that, I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for watching and have a great week ahead.